Welcome back to another episode of the Fit Dad Club podcast. My name is Travis Jones. I'm here with Jason Barrett to help you overcome the slump with your fitness, but also help you get to become the best version of you. You know, fitness is a lifetime thing, not a one-time thing, or not a 16-week thing, or not a 28-day thing. Fitness is something that you do today and you do for the rest of your life. If you put a finite end time on your results or on your fitness, then of course you will lose weight and you'll gain weight. You will lose weight and you'll gain weight, and you'll be a constant yo-yo battle that I would say 99% of society falls into. And that's why they're constantly feeling, oh, I'm losing weight, great. And then they slip into old habits because what they did is they put finite time on a change in behaviors. They didn't change who they were. They didn't, because fundamentally, if you were 10, 20, 30 kilos overweight, you need to fundamentally change who you are as a person. You don't put a Band-Aid on it for 16 weeks. You don't put a Band-Aid on it for 32 weeks and lose 15 kilos and think, oh, I can go back to my old behaviors now and I won't put on the weight. You'll 100% put on the weight. You'll put it all back on, and then you'll end up exactly where you are at the start of the journey again, and you'll have to start the journey again. And dieting sucks. Starting from the start sucks. We don't want to do that over again. So what we do want to do is we want to make sure that, I tell most of the guys that I coach, you want to diet really hard and fast once, and then we want to try and get you to your goal. And that once, for someone who needs to lose 20, 30 kilos, could be 20, 30 weeks, right? You might have to diet hard and fast for 20, 30 weeks straight, right? But then once you have that diet completed, you can reverse diet yourself out of it and then move forward with your life at a maintenance calories, or then set a new goal. But if you don't actually commit to changing the way you fundamentally look at food, the way you manage your emotions, that training is a daily thing for the rest of your life, or if not 4 to 5 times a week for the rest of your life. It's not like, oh, I'm going to train for 16 weeks and I'm going to give it up and say, no, this is who you are now, right? You are becoming a fit dad. You're becoming the best version of you. The best version of you trains like nearly every day, if not every day, right? And it's like, it's a black and white decision. I think that's the biggest thing that I can say to people. And then somewhere inside that 30 weeks or that year, if you've got 50 kilos to lose or whatever it is, people fall into slumps, right? And when you fall into a slump and you stop tracking your food, or maybe you stop working out, what happens is a 30-week goal can turn into 50 weeks or 60 weeks or 70 weeks. And that's depending on how long you sit inside that ditch of despair, which is a slump, right? So we want to try and, if we are in a slump, we're in a slump for like an hour, okay? Or a day or a weekend, right? But we don't want to try and sit inside the slump and, we get punched in the face through an obstacle, something out of our control that we didn't see coming. And then all of a sudden it becomes like a domino effect on our habits, on every other habit in our life. And then we definitely do default to poor behaviors, because the way you used to deal with that was alcohol, food, and, Netflix or porn or whatever it is that distracts you. But it definitely wasn't exercise. Because if you did distract yourself when you got punched in the face with exercise before, you wouldn't be 20, 30 kilos overweight. So it's the biggest thing is, it's like, okay, well, I haven't learned to deal with emotions properly yet. And that's why you get in a slump. When things outside of my control, it means I'm defaulting back to the previous version of me, the older version of me, the one that used food as a crutch, the one who used alcohol as a numbing mechanism to deal with things that I didn't like. So what we have to do is, one, we have to look at that, the root cause of these things and what's getting us into the slump. But two, that means we're not ready actually to move forward because we still haven't changed our identity or what we do on a daily basis to make sure we're keeping this for the rest of our life. I know there was a little bit deep and fast into the podcast today, but I think I wanted to get that out there to start with. So anyone who's out there thinking of, am I in a slump? Have I actually changed who I am? Am I trying to put a Band-Aid over like a gunshot wound that is this 20 kilos that I'm carrying around with me that's slowly killing me each and every single year? It's like, no, we have to change who you are as an individual. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like fundamentally who you are as a person needs to change.
Yeah, yeah. And we're not saying that you're not great, you're not wonderful, but
No,
you've
man.
had a
Woo woo.
series.
Self-love. Self-love for
Exactly.
you.
Self-love, woohoo! But you've had a series of habits and a series of decisions that have led you to the point where you are not your best self, right? And I'll put that out there for anyone to say, if you are carrying extra weight, like a significant amount of extra weight, and you think I'm still being my best self, it's just a fucking lie. Like I was chatting to one of my guys the other day who he's lost over 25 kilos now, Aaron, and he was like. He's like, no wonder my back and my knees and my hips and everything were hurting every day because I was carrying this extra 25 fucking kilos around, right? You don't think about it until you've lost it and you're like, holy shit, I didn't realize how little energy I had, how little vitality and confidence I had when I was in that state, right? Do you feel confident to go throw your shirt off at the beach and run around after your kids? Well, no, because you probably can't run around after them for too long. So when it comes to feeling like you're in this space, you're in this slump, you're just down on yourself. It's number one, recognizing, hey, it's not like just who you are as a person, like from a genetic level is flawed. The decisions you've made have been poor. You need to change those decisions, and you need to change the way you view yourself, because you keep seeing yourself as the fat dad. You keep seeing yourself as that guy who drinks heaps of beers and can eat the whole pizza to himself or whatever else it is. You get rid of that shit. You've got to get rid of that identity, and you've got to embrace it. As Trav's saying, this is a lifestyle and a lifelong change. If you see it as a short-term thing, if you see it as I'm doing this for 16 weeks or to achieve a certain amount of fat loss, and then, all right, well, I'll just bounce back up again. We're trying to prevent that. We don't want to see the bounce back, right? It's like a broken trampoline. You want to jump on it once, you want it to go down, and you never want it to come back up again. So we want you to be a broken trampoline. We just stay down, right? We don't bounce back up again. But when it comes to a slump, I think one of the key things for a lot of people is they often don't, when things get hectic, and look, we've talked about this before, life and randomness has never not happened in life. When randomness does happen, like I've got one of my guys who he's had a role change at work where he's moving into this, really big role where he's got to deal with layoffs and staff shortages and all this stuff. And he's doing a uni study and he's taking after kids, and kids are going to sport every different weekend. And he's driving like hours and hours, thousands of kilometers on a weekend because they're all friggin' great at sport. So they're all in their grand finals and everything like that. So they've got to go to everything. It was a hectic couple of weeks, but he drew a line in the sand and he was like, look, from the next couple of weeks, I'm not going to be able to focus on my fitness as hard as I would like. And then as of this weekend, he's like, cool, things have eased up. I'm back into it. And this is the line in the sand. And the reason why I bring this one up now is because a lot of people don't make that delineation, and they half-ass their fitness while they're really, really busy, while they probably don't have the capacity to do it as well as they would like, which is, again, kind of a bit of a myth for a lot of people because it doesn't actually take that much for you to keep on. Like, if anything, eat less. You don't have to spend as much time prepping meals or chewing food. Oh my God, you save all this time because you don't have to chew as much food because you're eating less, right? It's a fucking time efficiency hack. But for most people, they kind of half-ass their fitness while other stuff is going on. They're not really committed, but they're in just enough where they feel like, oh, I'm doing this stuff and I'm not really getting the result. And I feel like I'm in a slump and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like I'm progressing, because for a lot of people, it comes back down to progress. It comes back down to, if you're not progressing, if you don't feel like you're moving forward, and to be honest, I've had guys who, even though they are moving forward, they're dropping, over like a kilo. He's like 85 kilos, one of my guys, dropping a kilo a week and on average, and, still absolutely nailing it. But he was just feeling like he was in a slump. I was like, bro, the first thing that I want everyone to know is it's totally fucking natural. It's completely normal to feel like you're in a bit of a slump or a bit of a rut, not just in your health, but in every area of life. You're doing the same thing for long enough, you're going to get to a point where things may be getting a little bit stale, or you might just be in a bigger, broader emotional sense. There might be other shit going on in your life that's causing you to feel like, just everything's not going well. You're kind of making broad generalizations. Maybe work isn't going well, your relationship isn't where it needs to be, and just like, focusing on your fitness just doesn't feel as exciting as it once did. And that's okay. It's okay to embrace the fact that you're not always going to be super excited. And I think this also comes down to people expect to be motivated all the time. It's like, you're not fucking David Goggins, right? You're not going to wake up and be like, who's going to carry the boats? Like, you're not going to be like that every single day. And to expect yourself to be is just you setting yourself up for failure. But it's remembering that it's okay to be in a slump. What's not okay is to let the slump go on and on and on and derail you and take you off course for weeks or months and help you rebound back up to where you started from. That's not okay. So as Trav was saying, the first thing we need to do is we want to recognize what caused the slump. Why did we go off course? Is it a deeper emotional thing? Is it an identity thing? You got close to your goal and you started getting nervous, like, oh, well, Who will I be if I'm not the guy who's always on fat loss? Who will I be if I'm not the guy who's, the big guy? Who will I be when I've got a six pack and I can't say, I can't go for that run because I can go for that run, or I'm not going to go to the gym because I do go to the gym. Like, who am I going to be? Like, there's that melting pot of identities where you've got to really take charge and embrace and say, no, this is who I am now. I am a different person. And this person achieves these goals. This person has these things. He has the abs. He has the ability to run more than 3 kilometers without getting puffed. He has the ability to, take a shirt off at the beach and feel confident. All of these things. So first step is to identify. But I think for me, the pre-thing is knowing that it's going to happen. You're probably going to feel a slump at some point. You're going to get down in it. We all do. We all experience that. Thank you, Rooster.
Exactly. But I think when we look at this, exactly the same thing. I think, like you just said, one of your clients, said, I'm going through a busy period at the moment, A, B, and C. And like, there's a couple of things you have to look at this, right? Overall, all of us have busy periods. And for me, I have a minimum standard of 24 minutes of working out every day, right? If I'm not busy, then I get to do more. If I am busy, then I get to do 24 minutes, which is like just over 1.6% of my entire day, right? I can dedicate 1.6% of my total day when I'm busy still to fitness. But for some of us, we can't even do that. A couple of my guys, it's like, okay, well, we'll go, one of my clients, for example, he's a principal. He has a lot of things on. He was in a remote area. It's like, okay, well, when you're busy during these next couple of weeks, minimum standard, you're just going to do 5 sets of 20 reps, squats, push-ups, sit-ups. So he does 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and you're just going to do that every day for the next 2 weeks. And that's what he focuses on. Now, by shifting his minimum standard, because he has a lot of other stuff on, do you know what he doesn't fall into? A slump, because you know what he still feels like? A winner. Winners win, losers lose. If you don't change your minimum performance or your minimum standards, and then you can't keep hitting your standards, then you feel like a loser. You feel like a loser for long enough, you fall into a slump. You're feeling like a slump long enough, then you just give up altogether. So I think it's like, you need to do more than just like follow a specific, general plan. What you need to do is have a plan specific for you, given your constraints, and then adjust that plan when needed so you can still get momentum, because an object in motion stays in motion. So if I'm going through a busy period and I can change my minimum standards down if needed, okay, then I can still feel like a winner. I can still gain and have momentum. And then when I get out of my busy period, I can increase my minimum standards again to then keep getting the results. Because slumps happen, I reckon, man. One, it's because people stop doing the work. Like, they go on holiday. And I'm like, I'm on holiday. That means literally old me jumps out and then overcomes my body. On holidays, we drink 75 bintangs, have 12 burgers a day and lay by a pool. Right? It's like, that's not what the healthiest version of you does. Right? That's okay to have a couple of bintangs and have a couple of burgers. But even when you're on holiday, like, do some fitness stuff. That's what a fit dad does. And if you want to be a fit dad and you want to be a good role model for your kids, then that's what you do, right? You still are fit. You're not hungover every single day on a holiday. Like, so you still do the work. It might be slightly less. It might be changing the minimum standards, as we said, but you're still doing the work. So a holiday does cause slumps when you don't plan for the holiday properly. Taking too long to get a result causes slumps because you haven't created milestones where you are checking in, am I on track? Okay, over the next 4 weeks, my goal is to lose a minimum of 3 kilos and a maximum of 5 kilos, right? And then we can look at it in 4 weeks' time. You're not going to get in the slump. Okay, let's look at it. It was 4 weeks went by. Oh, Jace, I didn't lose the minimum 3 kilos. Well, you trained twice, you tracked 3 days of food, and you turned up to one call with me. Oh, well, of course you didn't. So you can't be upset for not getting the results for the work you didn't do. Okay, so it's a very simple conversation. So we don't fall into a slump. You just get a kick in the fucking ass, right? So, but if we do it, if you okay, let's look at it. We know that 7,000 calorie deficit equals a kilo of weight loss. Very simple, right? So we need to for us to do this, we need to create a minimum 21,000 calorie deficit over the next 4 weeks to lose 3 kilos. So let's aim for a 28,000 calorie deficit over a month's period of time to lose 4 kilos. You might overshoot, you might undershoot slightly. How will we do that? Let's go. Drop the calories to this. Put the movement to that. Make sure you're eating these foods. Now track every single day. Do your workouts, and you will hit the milestone. And then it's clearly you have to do this as well. If I hit a minimum of 3 kilos weight loss in the next 4 weeks, will you be happy? Yes. Okay. So then, because now you're acknowledging the fact that because people get complacent, they get slumpy and they get irritated when results are slow, but they aren't really slow, as Jay said before. You just aren't happy that you aren't your goal yet and it's taking longer than you fucking like. But you didn't put on the 30 kilos in 16 weeks, so you put it over in 16 years. So if it takes us 8 years to lose it, then that's okay. But for you, if you said 4 kilos is okay in 28 days, then okay, 28 days, you hit 4 kilos. High five yourself. Be fucking grateful that you're still on this journey. And yeah, exactly. And we now look forward to the next goal. It's as simple as that. So then it's not taking too long. It's taking the exact time that you said it's going to take, except you just want your results now. And that's human nature and that's okay. But you have to still be happy that you're on this journey because, as I said last week on the podcast, the man will walk further when he enjoys the walk rather than enjoying the destination, right? So you just have to enjoy the fucking walk. And I think that's the biggest thing you have to understand. And understand the checkpoints along the walk as well.
Yeah, literally enjoy the walk.
Literally enjoy the fucking walk. Yeah, every day, 10,000 steps. But I think the last thing, there's a couple more, but I think one more thing before I hand it over to you, Jace, I want to say is people say they fall into a slump because of a lack of motivation. And I think this is such bullshit. People say to me all the time, it's like, oh, I'm not motivated. It's like, man, no one's motivated every single day. Like absolutely no one. I don't think anyone out there is motivated every single day, like to get up and do the work. I definitely am not. I do probably 40% of my workouts motivated, 50%. The other 50%, I just do them because I said I was going to do them. And that's not a motivation thing. I drag my ass literally through my workouts because it's who I am. And, often motivation comes from a lack of why. So I have to remind myself that. Now, if I take you out to the ocean, Jace, okay, and I hold your head under the water, okay.
Is this Perth warm ocean or Tassie's freezing ocean?
Let's even say Perth.
Right.
Perth
Warm
ocean.
Yeah.
Now, do you think about breathing as we're talking right now? Do you think about actually breathing in, breathing out, or are you just thinking about me talking to you? No, exactly. You weren't thinking about it, right? If I take you out of the ocean, okay, and you're not even motivated to breathe right now, you're just breathing. Yeah. If I take you out to the ocean, Jace, and I manhandle you, hold your head under the water and you can't get up. You can't get your head out of the water.
That's a very, very realistic possibility. Trav could easily
manhandle you. But how much will you be thinking about, I need to breathe?
It'll be the only fucking thing I'm thinking about.
The only thing you're thinking about. And how hard will you would actually beat me?
Yeah.
Because your will to want to breathe is probably more than my will to hold you down.
Plus I've done 8 months of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I reckon
exactly. You get me. 100%. You'll get me there. You get up. Because your why is so strong that you would fight for that air. Like you would fight for me to actually keep going. And that all it is all of a sudden, did you become more motivated? Well, no, I just put you in a different scenario which motivated you, right? So all I'm saying is you aren't motivated because you haven't put yourself in a scenario that the juice is worth the squeeze yet. You haven't put out, guys, if you're lacking motivation, go onto your Facebook. Right, I'm a fat shit right now. I'm 20 kilos of weight and I feel like crap. When I wake up, I don't have energy. I don't feel like a role model to my kids. And I don't feel like I am confident at the moment. But, there's a big but right now. But over the next 8 weeks, 20 weeks, 26 weeks, I'm going to get up every single day. I'm going to work out. I'm going to follow my nutrition. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And if you see me not doing any of this, slap the beer out of my hand, slap the burger out of my hand. If you don't see me post a workout every single day, I don't want to post a workout. Well, fuck it, do it for accountability. Do it. That is public motivation and public accountability, right? This will all of a sudden, because then you don't want to look because it's easy for you to say to yourself, oh, I don't want to work out today. But if you told everyone else you're going to work out today and they're waiting to see if you worked out, even if they're waiting to see if you worked out, it's like, I knew he wouldn't work out. Either way, you're going to prove the haters are wrong and you're going to prove the people that follow you and love you right. So it's like, it's like that public accountability will force action. Like it is for me, right? With this every single day, right? The project, it's forcing me to do shit I don't want to do because like there's no way I'm not hitting a 5-point day. That's just not who I am in a public eye, right? So it's forcing me to do the work, right? So, okay, will that motivate you enough? Okay, well, or will every time you don't work out, you have to pay $20 to a charity, right? Oh, okay, well, I've got to work out 7 days a week because I don't have $140 a week. I'd have to get a part-time job just to pay the bill of me not working out. Okay, that's a strong enough why, right? Like, whatever it is, you need to get a why so strong that forces momentum to push you forward to stop being a little bitch, essentially, because when I say little bitch, it's like, oh, it's too cold today. I don't want to work out. Oh, I didn't have enough sleep today. I want to press snooze. Oh, it's been a tough week. I need an extra beer. It's like, that's little bitch version of you. The justifying, complaining, and blaming, right? And like, again, one of my teachers, man, like he's a principal, sorry. He was like, oh, I've got so much on. It's like, man, did you go to school? Did you work yourself up? And did you move to like a remote community, right? I mean, him talk about this. He's like, yes. I was like, so it's hard. He's like, yes. I'm like, but did you choose this hard? Or did someone force you to move to a remote community, become a principal and try and lose weight and look after your kids? Did someone force you to do this? He's like, no. I'm like, so you chose this hard? He's like, yes. I'm like, so because you chose this hard, you don't get to complain about this hard. Because you chose it, right? This was a self-choice, right? So he's like, yes. I was like, then mate, I don't want to hear your complaints. And me and him, we was like, for him, he's got 2 young kids. I was like, dude, I don't want to hear that you're tired. You're always going to be tired. Like you literally are. There's not going to be a day you're not going to be tired until your kids are a little bit older because you're trying to do so much. So I don't want to hear that you're tired because I didn't work out today because I'm tired. It's like, you're going to be tired either way, so you may as well work out. So we talk about it. It's like, you chose this hard because now all of a sudden I own it. I own this situation because I put myself into this situation, whether it's good or bad, right? And because I can own it, I can deal with it. And I don't make excuses about it. And because I chose it and I don't complain about it because no one gives a fuck about your complaints, you can move forward. I think that's a big thing. It's like, owning your shit, having a strong why. And if you don't feel like you have enough motivation, like look at your kids or make a public declaration or do something to make that why really, really strong. And that in itself can also push you out of a slump.
100%, man. I think people rely on motivation. Like Zig Ziglar said, motivation's like a bath. We recommend it daily. It's fickle, right? It wanes. It's not something that like, I mean, I get motivated usually after a workout because I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I did the thing. The good emotion usually comes after you do the hard thing. And we, as dads, we want to get better at just doing hard shit, right? Not necessarily always for the sake of it, but yeah, sometimes you just want to do hard shit, do shit that is hard and challenging. Yesterday, I did one of Trav's 20-minute dad bod workouts. I did it in like 27 minutes because I fucked it up and I did one of the exercises twice. But the one of them, there's one exercise in there. The rest of it was fine, but there was burpees. I fucking hate burpees. Do you know what I did? I did the burpees anyway. I did it even when I got to the point where I had to do fucking stepping burpees with a little hop because I couldn't jump my feet in and out anymore because they were that exhausted. Still did it, right? And I was like, yeah. And I was in my internal monologue was like, fuck, this is hard. But afterwards I was like, yes, I did the hard thing. Tick the box. Exactly. Feel really fucking motivated for doing the hard thing, right? And as Trav's saying, if you don't have a big, powerful reason why, and you're doing it just because, I'm doing this workout because my coach assigned it to me to do, rather than I chose to go on this body transformation and this is what is required of me in order to get there. This is the requirement. This is the minimum standard that I'm expected to give in order to get the result that I said that I want. You either have to own that you said that you want it, or you've got to say, you know what, I actually just don't want it that bad. Right? And then that becomes a conversation of, oh, well, do we need to pull on some levers to say, hey, you should want it more than this because have you considered...
If you're happy for your kids to look up to me more than they look up to you, I'm happy with that as well.
Yeah, fine.
Right? But I said that to one of my guys the other day. He's like, seriously, I was like, dude, like if you don't get fit, your kids are going to look for other healthy, fit role models. And it's not going to be you. They'll look to other dads, right? If they want to be healthy and fit, they'll look to other dads as a role model. So I'm happy to be your kid's role model if you aren't happy to be their role model. And he was quiet. He told me to go fuck myself because we have that relationship. Yeah. And I was like, dude, remember, I'm not always going to tell you the things. I'm not here to fluff your fucking pillow. I'm here to hold a mirror up to your face. And then he went away and he told one of his friends what I said to him. He's like, he goes, did you hang up on the guy? He's like, no, he was trying to tell me the truth that no one else will tell me. And that lit a fucking fire under my ass because no other dad is going to be a role model to my fucking kids. Right. And he's got after it and he's made his bright line decisions again. And it's I think sometimes everyone's too afraid to tell you the truth. Your wife is too afraid to tell you the truth because you're going to be a sore, if you're 20, 30 kilos overweight, your wife should tell you. No, she doesn't mean she's not going to love you, but she should tell you. It's Jay, it's you've got to do something, right? I would hope Liv would say, it's man, you've got to do something. You're not as energized as you used to be. You're not playing with the kids the way that you want to play with the kids. But everyone's too afraid to tell their friends the truth because we're friends. When in reality, a true friend was dude, you're being a fat shit right now. Get to work. And you know what? So am I. So let's do it together. That's what a real friend would do, right? I think we need to hold those mirrors up to each other. And if we did that in society, and everything I say is from a place of love. I want people to be energetic. I want people to be strong. I want them to be healthy. I want them to be role models for their kids. Because if we can create generational wealth, at the moment, obesity and the overweight epidemic continues to climb by the percentages every single couple of years. We're going crazy at the moment and we're only getting worse, right? The convenience of food is getting easier. The convenience of shit food is getting easier. The consumption of calories is going higher. The lack of exercise of our youth is going down, it is going up. So they're doing less and less work. So, and all of a sudden they don't have as many fit and healthy role models. So then they don't become fit and healthy. Kids do what we do, not do what we say. So if I say it out of love because I want you to create a generational health so your kids can be healthy. And it's truly out of love. You're if you think, this guy's pretty direct, he swears at me. It's yeah, I swear it because something needs to sometimes shock you into creating action and moving you forward. And I think that is if you can take your ego out of this podcast, you're listening to me, I'm going to take my ego out. I'm going to have humility as I'm listening to this man talk to me and go, what if there was any truth in what he's saying? What would that truth be? And if you could ask yourself that question, it's yeah, maybe there is some truth. Maybe I'm not being the dad that I want to be to my children. Okay. And how am I not being that dad? And what do I need to do to be that dad? And man, that's a big why as well.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. That was good. Really, really good. I like that stuff. It is exactly that. Do you want someone else stepping in to be that person for your kids? And that's the level that you might have to go to if you've been living, you've had 30 years of momentum of thinking you're just getting by, probably knowing deep down you're not doing all you could be doing, but just getting by. And the problem is we come up here and it's we hold up that mirror and it's have you been doing your best work? The reason why people get emotional, angry, and even sometimes on the the ads that we run and stuff like that, and the posts that we put up, oh yeah, this guy must not love his kids and spends all his time in the gym or whatever and all this stuff. All of that stuff comes from a place of projection. We're projecting our own insecurities out. And whenever you feel one of those emotional responses, or for lack of a better word, triggered by anything that's said on the podcast or that you see, that is a sign not for you to look outward. A lot of people do these days, oh, I'm triggered, so it's everyone else's problem and everyone else needs to handle it and stop saying the things that are mean to me. First of all, the word triggered has been fucking taken way out of context. It's you weren't in Vietnam and World War II. You don't have PTSD. The sound, it's I was only 19. It's the sound of the Channel 7 chopper doesn't, cause you flashbacks, right? You get upset when people say certain things.
The only flash I have is Yogi Bear and he didn't wear any fucking pants when I was trying to put me to sleep. So I remember Fat Cat and Yogi used to be on the TV at 7:30 at night, and they're like trying to put you to sleep. It's like, where's your pants, man? What's the pants on?
He's doing the Winnie the Pooh. He's just got the shirt, the vest, right? And he's got the fluff down there.
That's the only thing you have.
Yeah.
If you have a big bear coming at you with no pants in the wilderness, it's like that's the only time I'll let you have PTSD if you haven't been in that area.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like it's a very like you're not triggered. You've had an emotional response because something has brought up something within you that you have either refused to deal with or that you haven't dealt with yet that you weren't aware of, but then it comes up. When it comes up, that's the time for reflection. And this is a big reason why we talk about meditation and mindfulness and taking space for yourself on this podcast. It's not some woo-woo shit, right? It's if you don't have the ability to give yourself space, like mental space and physical space to process your own emotional shit, it comes out in a number of different ways. You lash out at loved ones, right? You get defensive. One of the biggest things that I've learned is that I can be a bit defensive when it comes to not making my wife happy, right? If I do something that lets her down or whatever, that's something that within me, it's like I feel like shit when that happens. And my natural response is to lash out and to kind of get defensive and go, oh, no, I didn't let you down because of this and I was doing this, and I come up with the excuses. But I'm aware enough of that to go, hey, look, I'm sorry. Like what I'm working on this year personally is to be less defensive. So when you feel, it's not that you're feeling like it's not that you're actually being attacked. You just get defensive over very valid criticism and points.
I'm exactly the same,
Yeah.
man. Like my goal is for Liv to be happy, right? And I try and do things to make her happy and provide, and she works really hard as well. Like I'm not the worker, like we both work, but when I do things like last night, I put time together to put a video together, got a bunch of videos of her. And like, I was like, oh, did you see the reel I posted tonight? And it's like, yeah, I didn't like it. And I was like, but that was for you. It was like Valentine's Day. And I was like, this is for you. And she's like, well, did you do it for your Instagram or was it for me? And I was like, no, it was for you. I was like, she's like, it made me seem like all I did is sit at home and you do all the work and I just look after the kids. And that's not what I do. And like, I got frustrated because I had an expectation. I had an expectation that she was going to like the thing that I did for her. Now, what happened in this situation, Jace? Liv has her issues, which is like she externally, people think she does the books, right? People around us, like where we live and all the rest of it. So the value that she thinks people place on her is low. So then she has that issue coming into this play. And then I have a need for validation. That's my issue. And mainly just a validation from her. So we had two issues with each other clashing at the same time. Yeah. And I got frustrated and then I was like, no, this is why I did it. You know, personally, I never think anything less of you. But when you did this and when you didn't act the way I wanted you to act or I expected you to, that made me feel like I feel less than, right? And I didn't appreciate that because I put time and effort into this. And they're like, but this comes down to communication, Jace, right? You have to go, what are my issues? Okay, where did that come from? And then you have to stop arguing with your partner because it wasn't really an argument. It was just like, fuck you. You didn't act like the way I wanted you to act. But like, I said like, this is what I felt. And she's like, well, this is what I felt. And it's like, okay, well, I am like, I don't need to have validation from you. But when I go out of my way to try and do something that I think you would like, I don't want you to feel held back by your issues and vice versa. And then we diffuse the situation and we move forward. But the thing is, if I hadn't done work on myself, I wouldn't be at that point to be able to reflect. And I wouldn't be at that point to not continue to escalate a situation and then it causes an actual fight, right? I think that's what you were saying is, Jace, is like most of us in our heads, because we, like a lot of people don't take the time to meditate or journal or do some form of personal development. Inside your head along the time is like, Homer Simpson and there's that monkey just like banging the cymbals in the head. And it's like, and all of a sudden you're just like impulse, like using impulse to choose the words in the situation. And you're not going, well, why did I choose that word? Or why did I act like that? And for everyone, not only in your communication with your partner, but you meditate, you journal, and you reflect because you want to become better. And like for me, I want to become better for her. Just like you, Jace, you want to become better for your partner. Everyone wants to be, you're with your partner so you can grow together, not grow apart, right? Like that's the goal of a marriage, is to grow together and grow apart, not grow apart. Some people do grow apart. I understand that. But the goal is to obviously grow together. So with this, you need to reflect. You need to journal. You need to act and go, what's triggering me? Why is this triggering me? But this is exactly the same thing you do with your slumps. This is exactly the same thing you do with nutrition. Why did I do this? Journal around it. What's causing me to feel like this? Why did I eat that food? And I think the more we can actually reflect, the more we can move forward for a long-lasting change.
Yeah, and that's
because you're not triggered.
Yeah, exactly. You're not really triggered. There's stuff going on, and that space is relevant. And look, Trav and I have both been in the personal development space for a long time, worked for personal development companies, teaching life coaching, doing that kind of stuff for a long time. So, and my wife is also, in her past life was also doing empowerment and life coaching for people as well. So we're very lucky in that we get to have those conversations, and Liv has been in that space too. So we've all been around that personal development stuff for a while. So there's a level of self-awareness and also a lack of judgment for the other person, and knowing we're not out here sitting there trying to push a button specifically like, oh, I want to piss this guy off. It's like, we might, but only in the context of, we want you to actually get a fire under your ass and stop being this lethargic person who just has no passion for anything, right? And no passion for getting any change and in making any difference in their life because they've tried it too many times and it just doesn't work for me, or whatever the woe is me story that we've told. Because it's a lot easier to tell ourselves the story of, it doesn't work for me, it's too hard, my body type is just too different. I took a quiz online and it said that I was just an obese body type, so therefore nothing's going to work for me unless I only eat vegetables, and I don't like carrots, so I can't do it. No, it's bollocks, right? It's an easy deflection to not have to deal with the real stuff. And you will always be better off by sitting with that, facing it, doing something different, and being willing to reflect and say, this is why I felt this way. This is why I felt this way listening to the podcast. This is why I got into this slump. This is why I've been feeling, low lately. A lot of people, they think it's the health and fitness that's, I'm in a bit of a slump with my health and fitness. No, it's probably some other fucking area of your life that you're neglecting, that you're not willing to really deal with. And so as a result, you're kind of projecting it on your fitness.
I think it's something clear. Like, again, if we go back to we're being very direct today. Now, if you feel like a negative emotion has arisen, now this is something you have to listen to. I can't make you feel an emotion. You are choosing an emotion based on my words. My words don't make you feel anything. You make you feel something based upon what I'm saying. Someone else is listening to this podcast right now and nodding their head, not feeling any negative emotion right now. They're actually feeling quite proud of themselves, that they are doing the work and they understand and they're educating and they're journaling and they're creating space for themselves. They're not making excuses. They're feeling proud. Okay. They aren't feeling frustrated, or they aren't feeling anger towards me or animosity or I'm a dick. All they're doing is they're feeling good. Now, what is the difference between them and you? And I think that's just what you have to ask yourself. Because if two different people can listen to the same podcast and feel a different emotion, what's the difference between the people? Because it's not what I'm saying, it's what you're feeling. And I think that's a big thing you've got to reflect on if you have the time to reflect on it, which most people should.
Yeah, exactly. If you're listening to this podcast, you've got the time, right? You've got the space to, after it's finished, before you jump into another podcast or before you do something else, just take the time while you're on your drive. I find that I listen to the radio and I listen to stuff I'll listen to podcasts in the car a lot, but if I don't have one to listen to, I'll just drive in silence and just kind of contemplate and think and just have that space and that almost that white noise going to just give myself some mental space. I find there was a podcast I listened to, it was one of Hamish's podcasts, How Other Dads Dad, which is a really good one if you're wanting to just learn about being a dad and getting better at being a dad, all that stuff, where one of the guys he lives near the beach, and he's like, before he comes home from work, even though there's the idea of you want to get home as soon as possible. So, for a lot of traditional setups where, the man goes off to work and the woman's at home looking after the kids, you want to give her a break, right? So she can go to the bathroom without the kids knocking on the door and, just have a bit of space. He's like, in order for me to do that after work, he's like, my wife knows it. I go to the beach. I spend 10 minutes at the beach, just lying on the sand or putting my feet in the water with my eyes closed, just looking up at the sky. And then I go off, and then I'm able to be the most present and best dad that I can be in that time. So you've got to have that conversation with yourself and go, well, what do I need to do? If I'm finding myself just kind of rushing from point A to point B to point C, it's like, you've got to take that time and say, well, what would allow me to be able to show up as the best version of myself? What would allow me to give me that space? And it might be after work, you take 5 minutes in the car, right? Before you get home, or if you're catching public transport or whatever, you just put your headphones on and just kind of sit there and decompress from the day, allow stuff to come up. It's just going to make you a much more aware person when you can be aware of your own emotions. And it can often be, for guys, up to 24 hours after an event happens. Maggie Dent was talking about this when she was discussing like the different brains in terms of men and women. Men will, when they feel an acute like negative emotion or something, they'll immediately go into their physical space. So, they'll want to move something, push something, shove something, right? Kick something, and just like that immediate like anger almost that comes out from a response. It's physical. And it can take up to 24 hours after that sort of physical response that you've got to get through that, which is why if you don't have a form of physical training or physical movement, which is why contact sports are great for men, because you get to get a lot of that stuff out of your system, whether it's like tackling or fucking jiu-jitsu or whatever, like to contact sports and team sports and that kind of stuff where you get to be a little bit rough, like you need some of that. If it's not that, then it's the gym, throwing a fucking medicine ball or a slam ball around. Like that real physical nature of getting energy out is very important for us to help deal with our emotions. So if you don't have that, you are, for all intents and purposes, being a less emotionally available and less emotionally aware person. So if you are struggling to connect with your emotions, think about what your physicality is like. How physical are you being on a daily basis? How much are you? Because using that really helps stimulate the emotional centers for a lot of guys as well. So again, when you're in those slumps, whether it's in any other area of life or whether it's in your fitness, the movement and emotion is created by emotion. The more you can move, the more you can then better access your emotions. And it's just especially true for men. So when it does come to slumps, right, we talked a lot about all the different areas, but the biggest one for us is you've got to work on your consistent mindset and know what a slump really is for you and how you can overcome it or get through it, or just know that it's finite and it's temporary. And guess what? You can feel like you're in a slump, but no one outside might know because you're still doing the fucking work.
100%, man. I completely agree. I think also, like, to get out of a slump, like I said, or like there's public accountability if you want it, or a coach or something similar, but also like it's drawing a line in the sand and creating some personal accountability where you can write a contract to yourself, right? I start on this date doing this thing and I won't stop until I have this or achieve this, or I'm going to do this thing for the next 28 days. Sign it. Like, sign your name. Like, make a contract with yourself, put it on the fridge. It's like, I'm going to follow my nutrition for the next 28 days and track my food every single day. I won't deviate from my plan for 28 days. And then put a reward and a consequence signed, right? It sits on the fridge. Every time you walk to the fridge, you see your contract. Like, you signed a contract with yourself, right? I think personal accountability in that way, like when we sign contracts, it's, we sign it for a reason. But it's like you're creating a commitment. A contract is a commitment. And it's not just saying something, but it's putting something down on paper, words with your signature. Like your words should mean something to you. So, I think that also adds another element of bright line and keeping it focused. And if you're struggling with the flexibility around nutrition, because I'm flexible dieting, like make even brighter lines. It's like, I'm going to eat these 2 different breakfasts, 2 different lunches, and 2 different dinners for the next 28 days, right? And that's okay. Oh, that sounds a bit rough. Well, do you need to do that because you have too much decision fatigue, because you're trying a flexible diet and there's too many things to do? Maybe you just need to get some really good momentum again. So we need to make it simpler. And simple is sometimes better to gain momentum. And then once you've got momentum again, well, you're out of the slump. Right? So then you can add flexibility back into your life. So there's all these different little tricks that you can do, You can message a friend every single day. Like just get a personal accountability with a friend, like one-on-one. Go, I'm going to text you every single day that I hit 10,000 steps, that I tracked my nutrition, I hit my diet, and that I trained, right? And I will send you a message, with a tick next to each of those things. And every day for the next 21 days, can you please keep me accountable? You can do that. That can be accountability enough to get you into momentum and out of the slump. I think we sometimes, we need a lever, right? Big enough. What is a lever big enough to move you forward? I think that's what we have to understand. Some people only need a little lever. Some people need a big fuck off lever, right? So it's how much of a slump are you in, and how much of a lever do you need to move you out of where you're currently in? Like if you're currently feeling like a bit of a loser and you can't move forward, and you've tried to start something 55 times and you keep failing, you need a bigger lever, right? If you've just dropped into a slump for a couple of days and you feel a bit unmotivated and you need a bit of a kick up the ass, then your lever needs to be smaller, and that's okay as well. So what you're trying to achieve needs to have a lever appropriate to the slump that you're in. And again, that is all personal. It's not and individualized to where you're at the moment. I think then what we just look at is we understand mindset, right? We have to do the work. Who do you want to be? And, what do they do, right? It's like, I want to be the fittest dad on my block. Oh, why? Because I guess that person would be highly energetic. And I don't think it's even an ego-based thing, Jace. If you create an identity, fittest dad on my block, or whatever it is, right? Whatever that means to you. But it's not, I want to be the biggest, fittest dad because I want the ego of wearing the fittest dad hat. There's no such thing. But it's if there's an identity of the fittest dad on the block, then what would the fittest dad do? Okay. And then I just need to do that. And I want to do that daily. And I might not even be the fittest dad right now, but I will become the fittest dad by doing the work on a daily basis, because that's what the fittest dad does. Right. And I think all we're trying to do is we're trying to look at mindset levers and actual physical, levers that are going to move us forward and getting us out of the slump and becoming the best version of ourselves. So you do the work. Who do you want to be, and what do they do? And then you just do that. And I think that is the biggest thing. And, if you don't feel like training, drive anyway. Drive to the gym. I don't feel like training today. Well, in your schedule, did you have training? Yes. Then drive to the gym and just sit there. Do not break the habit of going to the gym. And if you're sitting there for 45 minutes and you're not training, it's trust me, you will do something. You might just get a couple of curls in, but you're still going into the physical activity and the habit of training because you went to the gym. Get a training buddy, get a coach, create a minimal effort. Like we said, tell your inner bitch to just shut up and get on with it. There's all these little things you can do that can lever you forward, except you just need to go, if all we have is a hammer, then everything is a nail. Okay. But it's having multiple tools in your tool belt so you can use the right tool at the right time for your individualized problem. I think that's a big thing that every single one of us, me included, are trying to learn and have to be humble enough that I don't know everything, okay? And someone else may help me with this problem that I'm currently facing, because we need to have humility to move forward and to learn and to progress in life. And I think we need to all engage that humility or that humble side of us is just that little bit more.
Yeah, agreed. Nothing further to add from me. I think that's a pretty good place to sum it up, in my opinion.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Well, that's how you get out of a slump, guys.
Yeah, done. Slump it out. But yeah, if you are looking to get out of a slump and you feel like you need a bit more accountability, a bit more help, head to fit-dad.club and book in a call. We'll have a chat about where you are right now and how we can help you get to where you want to be. If you want one of us kicking you up the arse to make sure that you make it happen, there's nothing better than having the Fit Dad Club behind you and having a group of guys to support you, guys who are going through the same stuff as you are. Because I think a big one as well is shared experience, knowing that other people are going through the same sort of stuff as you are. Other people experience slumps, and yes, it is totally normal. What's not normal is to let it keep you back from your goals.
Definitely. It's not normal just to sit there for a decade in a slump, right? Common humanity. Well, unfortunately, that is normal. But we don't want it to be the norm. We want the norm to actually shift to being, I want to express what I'm going through and I need help. And as men, we often don't want to ask for help because of our ego, right? But if you haven't gotten the result you want to get in the last 12 months, why are you're wasting time? You're wasting years from being the best version of you. So get help to get to the best version of you as fast as you possibly can, because that means you're going to get to the best version of you as fast as you possibly can, which means the next couple of years will be the best couple of years. And I think like, if I feel like crap, like I've hired personal trainers to give me accountability in the past. Like I'll pay someone to help me get out of any type of slump I'm feeling with. And sometimes it's just that shove in the ass. I know what to do, but sometimes it's just the shove in the ass I needed, like just to pay some money to get me moving forward. And like that's sometimes how I get out of a slump personally. So we all have different ways, guys, but it's understanding that you need to be humble enough to know that you don't have all the solutions, and then sometimes you might need help, and that's what we're here for. So rate the podcast or review it, share with someone, book in for a call at fit-dad.club, and come back next week where we have another episode where maybe I'm yelling at you a little bit less.
Not
for
likely.
the Fit Dad Club podcast.
Come back for the yelling.
Exactly. See you guys.
Latest.
Peace out.